Welcome to the Spirit Sessions podcast. I'm your guide, Katie Silcox, bringing you your weekly self-love soundbite. Join us where I'll help you find your true spiritual home, where every single aspect of you is holy ground, holy ground, holy ground, holy ground.
This is Spirit Session Podcast with Katie Silcox. Venga chicos, empezamos.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hi everyone, Katie here. This podcast is intended to inspire you, educate you, and most importantly, support you on your journey towards knowing who you really are, that inner self, that inner teacher. I am not a psychologist or a medical doctor and do not offer professional health or medical advice on this podcast. If you are suffering from any kind of psychological or medical issue, please do the right thing and seek help from your qualified health professional. Hey, beautiful person. It's your girl here, Katie, and today I'm going to invite you and myself into what might be the single most important spiritual practice for me. And apparently I'm not alone in this. Rumi has been quoted as saying, "They are the chosen ones who have surrendered." So yes, this is a podcast about letting that shit go. This is a podcast on surrender. And, so many of the biggest spiritual moments and gifts awakening in my life have come from doing something that is really, really hard for me because I'm a type A alpha lady, bitch, boss, get shit done, help others, do more, achieve more. I mean, that's my tendency, right? Like I'm a doer, I'm a go-getter. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I know a lot of you understand that, right? We tend to attract here at the Shakti School people, and especially women that are agents for change in their life and transformers, right? And that's called fire. But fire without water just burns us and we get real crispy and brittle and dried up. And so on the spiritual path, water is medicine, and water is a metaphor for spiritual surrender. It is deeply counterintuitive sometimes to the part of us that wants to keep it all together. I call it my inner controller. Surrender is about admitting something really tender and really human, and that is that we are actually not in control. And that can scare the you-know-what out of us. But there's some really good news, and that is on the other side of being with that, the recognition that we are not really in control, there's something that arises. For me, when I grind in and just become more truthful and more real, there's this immediate sense of relief. When I can accept that reality isn't black and white, things in my life aren't always fair. The perceived good guys, of course I'm one of them, don't always win in this life. And even the idea that there are good guys and bad guys has to be surrendered. When we can really hold that essential truth in our hearts, dig our heels in, and just commit to this one spiritual practice, and that is to keep our hearts open, we are touching into the grace of surrender. If you're anything like me, sometimes you might look around at your current life and be like, WTF, this does not look like what I had planned. I am holding my hand up right now, right? My life right now looks nothing like the dreams that I had when I was a younger woman. I don't have the picket fence and the super hunky Instagram worthy looking husband who's also simultaneously more enlightened than me. Like, I don't have a lot of the things that I thought I would have and experience. And that can be really painful. I know for a lot of the women that I work with, it's almost comical how we fantasize about this ideal love, and then we roll over to like our snoring, very human, flaw-filled husbands. We long for children, but then we get them, right? We have all these babies, and now we're in our real life with them that involves, sleepless nights and poopy diapers, and from what I can see, just like endless sick days. And I'm thinking of my sweet, sweet brother, Wyatt, and his gorgeous children. They're the best things in the world, but life is challenging, even when we do get our dreams. You get that white picket fence, and then, in the front yard, there's a sinkhole. One of the greatest spiritual powers we can cultivate is our capacity to allow our life to be what it is, while simultaneously being so open to the fact that our lives will change and there are endless possibilities, and we do have agency around what that change can look like. In this way, I think it helps us sort of make friends with what is here and what's available and what our current moment holds. By resting in this level of acceptance of what is, surrendering the inner and outer weapons of war that constantly fight to make our life something different, to make our feelings something different, to make our health something different, to make our boyfriends, our partners, our wives something different, to make our politicians and our government and our healthcare system and all these things that, for very good reason, many of us are like, yo, this is super whack. And it's very natural to want it to be different. But when we really do just let ourselves lay down those weapons of war with what our life actually is, something really magical can start to happen. And of course, this doesn't mean we don't step out of abusive situations or fight injustices. It just means like we can hold a certain amount of acceptance around the truth of what this human life is. And one of my mentors, y'all know her, Crystal. Go back, listen to my podcast with her. Magical mentor, Crystal. She is constantly telling me that is not what this human earthly life is about. And as a student of Tantra for 20 years, I'm like, yeah, but we can make the world this blissful experience, and that's true. But we have to first really accept that human earthly life is full of karma and the very embodied material experience of the five senses and the limitations of the material world and the inevitability of death and the truth of imbalance and disharmony. And the fact that people gonna let you down, it's just a thing. And I'm one of those people. I've let people down. I've hurt people. And I know my heart is really full of the longing to love and be loved. And yet, we're all human beings, right? We are going to, as the Christian tradition says, but for the grace of God, there go I. Ye who is without sin, go ahead and throw the first stone, right? This human life is not supposed to be about us getting everything that we want and living in this like bliss bunny sort of, realm. It's just really not. It's about learning how we can get more of the one thing that will be with us when we take our last breath, and that is compassion and generosity of heart. Oh my lordy. And so the question I've been really in the past week and months, to be really honest, is what does it mean? What does it really mean to surrender my life to the divine? What does it really mean to do a big old fat trust fall into God's arms? What does it really mean to open my heart into my throat and up into the heavens and down into the earth and let this little bunny called Katie Silcox, this little individual human being, this wild tigress that is this personality called, for me, it's Katie. You're going to fill in your name in your blank, right? To align with the divine, to let my will be in alignment with a divine will. Like, what does that mean? How do I practice it? What do I do? How do I know when my words and actions and intentions are mine through a divine lens, and when are they my ego, and knowing that they certainly will be coming through my ego from time to time and certainly have in the past? Like, how do we get there? And so I've been really, pondering it, practicing around it, working with it with my teachers, offering it to students in our school and in Ayurveda school, and also deeply contemplating it and reading about it. Lao Tzu says something really, really helpful in terms of practicality. And he says, to the mind that is still, the whole universe surrenders. Sri Chinmoy says, surrender is a journey from outer turmoil to inner peace. Radhanat Swami says, surrender means the surrender of your ego. And I love this one from our brother Ram Dass. The heart surrenders everything to the moment. The mind judges and holds back. And then Rumi, in his infinite succinctness, says, try something different. Surrender. And so practical surrender, what does it look like? And so breath work really helps, doing a box breath. And so that's inhale, a count of 4 or 5 or 6, the number doesn't matter. You're just inhaling in a comfortable amount, pausing the same amount, exhaling out the same amount, and pausing the same amount. So it's like 4, 4, 4, 4. Inhale, pause, exhale, pause. And in the surrender, even in the great tantric teachings, they say, all the answers to all of life's questions come in the pause between 2 breaths. Another way of practical surrender is just, I have a friend named Elaine. Elaine, what's up? And I don't think Elaine will mind me saying this. We were laughing so hard. I was at a conference with her, and she's this very sort of, in my mind, like this quite, it just seems like she's got it together, very polite and very well spoken and very well educated. And she's writing a book that I will hopefully have her on the show when it comes out. But I said, really, it's just like, shut the fuck up. And she just started laughing. She was like, oh yeah, we thought about a book called Shut the Fuck Up, and obviously that's not going to be the title of it, but it's just be quiet. It's just silence. If you are in a silent heart, an experiencing heart, an open heart, a non-judgmental heart, if you are in an open, silent heart, you are in the room with divine surrender. The heart surrenders to everything. William Booth has been quoted as saying the greatness of a man's power is the measure of his surrender. Jack Kornfield has this to say about surrender. Peace requires us to surrender our illusions of control. Muji says surrender is not a weakness, it's a strength. It takes tremendous strength to surrender our lives to the supreme, to the cosmic unfolding. So that's the theme for the week, you all. It's divine surrender. It's something that we deeply honor as a practice in Ayurveda School. As you have heard, early bird coming up, we're going to let you all be the last ones in. It's never going to be this cheap again. And, it can be really helpful to have a place that understands the great value of aligning our desires and will with something divine. We're going to be over there. If you haven't ever joined us, January 2023 is your year to come, and we would love to meet you and be with you in that space. Thank you guys for your ears and for your attention, which is your great gift, the gift of your presence. And we look forward to seeing you in that surrendered place. A big special thanks to Kevin Carlisle of Goodbye Gemini, who wrote this beautiful podcast music, and to DJ Juan Pablo Jimenez in southern Spain for mixing it and making it magic.